What's up, everyone? Check out the Comic Outlaw on YouTube. Drop a like, subscribe, or hit us up. And right now, we're doing something a little mystical. Yeah. Something old school. Something probably you guys haven't really heard of. ElfQuest, Book 2. Wendy and Richard Pini. This is a classic series, started out in the 70s, 80s. And it's really cool. We're on Book 2 right now, and here we go. We picked up with Cutter and Skywise. They had found their home that was burnt down a few years back. They were forced to fled into the desert, and they're finding that their home has been basically destroyed. The fire had pretty much taken everything in the forest, and this stump right here was a great tree. This was their holt, the place they lived. Redlance, who's a character, his father shapes wood, plants with his hands. He shaped that tree himself, and it's basically destroyed. There's nothing left of it. And they're just kind of sad right now because they lost their home they had for so many years, and coming back they thought they'd find at least something, and there's no food to eat. They're digging up roots right now, looking for squirrels or anything else, because the forest is just completely decimated. And of course they got the trolls spying on them. During the first book they wondered where the trolls were because they came back through the caverns and the trolls were gone, but now they're spying on a particular one named Picknose. He's actually the one that betrayed them. He was a friend to Cutter's father, Bearclaw, and from out of nowhere these trolls strike and they throw like these sleeping bombs. They attack both the elves and the wolves. Now, they need the elves. Well, they need a particular item from the elves, so they just take them. And in their little cottage, the elves wake up, and there's Picknose, an assistant, sort of like a sorcerer, sort of, and the mistress of the king, or the former king of that area, that Picknose had always had a crush on. So, upon waking up, Cutter decides to attack, but he's chained up, and this is the problem with Cutter. He's very brash, and it tends to overtake him at times. We found this out in the first book when he was courting his wife, for example. Very brash and bold. But Picknose takes his sword, his father's sword, and of course Cutter responds by biting him really, really hard. This sword is special to Cutter. It's a family heirloom. Cutter's father had won it from the trolls actually in a game because they're the ones that forge metal. But at any rate, Picknose is mighty mad, and Cutter and Skywise are sending to each other. They're also sending their wolves. The sending is a way of communicating without talking. It's like a psychic link that exists between the tribe, both elf and wolf. So the trolls go on. They decide that they're going to have a party, and they're going to make the elves their servants, their slaves. And they kind of reveal that it's the sword they need, something very valuable in it. And of course, they turn the elves into the slaves. They're making them dole out this disgusting soup, because basically trolls can eat anything. They're breaking out the booze, and in the first few books we found out about dreamberries. They're like these berries you eat. They're very alcoholic. They give you a sense of buzzed. It's like being stoned and drunk at the same time. These trolls have figured out a way to turn it into a wine, and the only elf that's really had this wine is Cutter's father, Bearclaw. So the trolls, dying with curiosity, give the elves a taste of it. Now, they've eaten dreamberries a lot, but this is something all new. And as soon as Cutter takes a drink, bam, he is on the floor. He likes it, but he's on the floor. And I love Skywise's reaction right here. He drinks it, drinks a little more, gets all red, all happy. He's down with it. Now here is the secret of the sword. This is why the sword was so valuable. It contains a key, a very valuable key to a very important treasure. And I love the way Skywise is like, treasure? All half drunk. Now, the trolls go on to explain that they were invaded by trolls that live up in the mountains, where the snow is and stuff. There's different tribes of trolls. And they invaded, basically took everyone prisoner, killed some other people. And they go on to explain how they ended up in the forest, how they decided to leave. They found the forest, they decided to settle there. They set up their own colony. And eventually these frost trolls found them and took them back. But for a while they had their own colony, but they got fat and lazy, as they say, and they were invaded and they were forced to move into what's left of the forest to hide out. And I love this, like this is how Bearclaw discovers there were trolls to begin with. Cutter's father, they were picking dreamberries, and he just grabs onto the hand and ends up being pulled down. And Bearclaw has a very unique relationship with the trolls. He used to gamble with them, drink with them. They actually respected him more than the other elves because he was a bit sleazy. He was a bit troll-like himself. And I love how they're drinking, they're kind of discussing, reminiscing. They're enemies in a lot of ways, but they do have a lot of common ground in certain things. But at any rate, they go on to explain how Picknose grabbed what he wanted, her, and the other guy, and they just took off. They left as soon as the bloodshed started. Now, Cutter just wants his sword back. And now he's really, really drunk at this point. He's daydreaming of his life mate, Lita. See, Picknose can't have his girl yet because he's not royalty. He hasn't proven himself. And Cutter is just daydreaming of her. And he laid in a nice little smooch on the troll girl. Proves that stuff is good, huh? I want to try some greenberry wine. But anyways, he goes on to talk about this troll named Two Edge. He's a half-breed, a half-elf, half-troll. He's a legend. They claim that he's older than the forest. He makes weapons of steel that no one else can. The secrets that he knows about weapons, blades, armor is legendary. And he goes from place to place, wandering, causing mischief, delivering weapons, and it's said that he has a treasure, and that key is the key to that treasure. So, that's the whole reason they wanted the sword back. They've been questing for that sword since Bearclaw won it in that gambling game. Bearclaw had an inclination that it was valuable, but he didn't know why. I love how Picknose kind of gives him a compliment that he was almost as smart as a troll. And Cutter gets offended because, he doesn't like trolls. So it's very interesting. He was actually trying to be complimentary, but Cutter actually took that as offense. Of course, Skywise grabs their sleep pouches, throws it at him. But guess what? Trolls are immune. So Cutter and Skywise try to make their escape. And they jump on, and Picknose grabs onto Skywise, and he just weasels his way out of it. Throws a little mud, and jumps through the window. Now keep in mind, Skywise is shackled, and they grab the chains. And Cutter is pulling on the other side. So he's trying to pull Skywise out of the window. And he calls for backup. He calls for his wolves. And Skywise's feet and ankles are very, very small, so they just slip right out of the chains. And there they go off. And Skywise kind of falls on Cutter. And at this point, they're free. They get on their wolves and they run off. And Picknose, he really doesn't care. All he wanted was the key. So he basically got what he wanted. Or did he? And I love this beautiful scene right here. The art is just wonderful. And as Cutter takes off his shackles, and he's sad because he doesn't have the bottom part of his knife anymore. Skywise, through the use of his tongue, and you can ask many women in the village, he knows how to use that tongue. He had the other part hidden, the key. He stole it from them through all the commotion. And they start to take off deeper, looking for the part of the forest that wasn't touched by the fire. While Picknose realizes that he just got hoodwinked by Skywise. And the adventure continues. Are they going to find their forest, their new home? We'll find out the next time, and I'll catch you on the flip side.